Welcome to Forum 360. I'm Stephanie York, your host today. Thank you for joining us for a global outlook with a local view. Today we are talking to Allyse and Mac Love, co-founders of Art by Love. Art by Love is a creative agency based right here in Akron, Ohio. They founded Art by Love because they believe in the health of art and the power of creative courage to lead change. They make art work. Now those are their words, folks, so we're going to find out exactly what that means, because I'm not quite sure. So welcome, Allyse and Mac, and thank you for joining us today.
Of course, we're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'd like each of you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, where you grew up, things like that.
Sure. I am from Akron.
Awesome.
I was born here, Akron Public Schools. I went to college at Denison University, and when I graduated, I moved to New York. Got a job in 2009 when no one was offering jobs. I was like, yes, please give me a job. I'll take that job, sounds great. And I ended up meeting someone at my office, and we started dating, and when it was starting to get serious, I was like, it's time to go home, get married, have kids, and we moved back, each got jobs at different agencies here, and then kind of looked at each other like, I think we could do this. And so we founded the company in 2015. I kept the day job.
Okay.
Steady paycheck, benefits,
Sure.
all that stuff until just last year.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so now we're both full-time in the company. I'm the majority owner of the company, so we are a women-owned creative agency as well.
Love it.
But yeah, we're happy to be back in Akron. It's been really great 7 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And a little bit about your background?
So I was born in New York City.
Okay.
Grew up in Brussels, Belgium. Went to an international school there. My father's from North Olmsted, so
Okay.
I was raised a
Wow.
diehard Cleveland sports fan, and bounced around internationally and stateside a little bit for work and jobs and life. But in 2010, moved to New York City and started working at a branding agency,
Okay.
where I managed design intelligence, which was like a lot of the creative research. I have a background in psychology, philosophy, and art, and I met Allyse. Her best friend sat next to me in the office. And 2010 was a big year for Cleveland and LeBron and the decision.
Yes,
and
it
so
was.
she was like, what is with this guy from Belgium who wants to know what's going on in Akron? And I mean, I was reading the newspaper, local newspapers all the
Sure.
time. So she would say, like, I have an irrational love of Ohio,
He
but
does.
I always wanted to live here. So it was an easy move to make.
Great.
And since starting the creative agency, we've hired over 300 local artists, and I've been able to kind of celebrate my local pride, creatively and strategically. So it's been beautiful.
Wonderful. So tell us about Art by Love. Okay, the name first. It's art with an X.
Yes.
Love. And I hear it's called Art by Love, but do people call it Art Times Love? Do they call it Art X Love?
Yes, all of the things.
and what is that history and your mission?
Well, we spent a lot of time working on the name. That's something that we used to do at the company where we worked at Sterling Brands. We would do naming for companies. So we would be naming a new brand of Wild Turkey bourbon, or we'd be naming a new vitamin for One A Day. And so we spent a lot of time with it, and we wanted it to be a little bit not on the nose,
right?
Like murals by the Loves, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think it does a nice job of encompassing a lot of what we do, because our projects are not just pigeonholed into one thing. We do a lot of different types of art,
Right.
and our name is an easy word to know.
Sure.
So Art and Love, it kind of made sense for us.
It also helped it was available.
Yes,
So
it was trademarkable.
so that's a big part of it.
Yes.
Good. So I've mistakenly called you a PR firm.
That's okay.
No, right, but I would like to know the difference between a PR firm and what you guys do, and why art is so important.
Yeah.
That's a lot in one question.
No, that's fine.
but-
I think there are a lot of different types of creative agencies, even locally here. I've worked at one that specialized in shopper marketing. So I would create coupons for GetGo. Like the coupons that come out when you're in getting your gas.
Right.
That's shopper marketing is a specific type of agency. PR marketing is a specific type of agency. Even digital marketing or email marketing. Like you can get super duper granular. And because we do some of those, depending on our client needs, but the majority of what we do are bigger art-based or creative design-based projects. So we might write a press release for the mural that we just finished at the Akron Zoo. We helped do some of the press for that, working with their team.
Okay.
But there are so many great companies that do just that. We love partnering with them as well for when we have similar clients.
Right.
I might add too that we're makers, and we hire a lot of makers, so we are physically present at the moment of change and transformation. So we capture and document and share that, and that's a really unique place to be. So having that ability to then craft the narrative, to include people in the story and the journey, and also to engage the audiences both before, during, and after a project is really important, just towards answering questions, producing things equitably, and then building trust long term. Very much a big focus of what we do is not just on the fashion of creating something creative, but building a legacy that will last through creativity.
Sure. So why is art important?
What a question.
Right?
What a question. We have done a lot of larger scale murals, and there was this misconception that we would work with people about, well, we don't want to put a mural here because it'll get tagged, or it won't be loved in the way that we need it to be loved. And there are so many, you'll be able to mark the statistics on it, but when a community can come together and put art in a place where they can see it every day, it lifts the spirits of everyone, not just outside, but in the workplace. What is it, a 30%?
Yeah, 30% increase in productivity when authentic art is installed or displayed in the common areas of a working environment.
Hallways,
so not the executive
conference
office, not the waiting room, but actually in the common areas. And when you let people participate in that process, they feel more valued, recognized, and
seen, heard.
Because you're actually doing it. So that increases tenure in the companies.
Sure.
It increases their productivity, their positive attitudes towards the work that they're doing. And it's not just doing those things, but it's very much doing it with intent and responsibly. So we apply that approach really to the built environment, like everything around us.
That's fascinating, because those people put up art for the people coming in, like the members that use the facility, or the customers, or things like that. But the art is really, if you get your employees and your base to help create it, the art actually is for the people that live and work there.
Yeah.
Not the people that visit and do the transactional business.
And I think it can be both. We
Sure.
work with Stewart's Caring Place a lot.
Right.
So they just moved into this beautiful new building in
They
Fairlawn.
did.
Mac was really instrumental in helping them with the art planning. So there are a couple of his pieces there. They've commissioned a few pieces there. We have embellished reproductions of other artists that are local.
Sure.
But we put in their long hallway different art, like a gallery. And they had, their last show had 82 local artists in it. And the second we took it down, every single employee was like, I miss it.
Really?
When can we put more art back up here?
So it motivated the employees, not just the...
It was an immediate, like they missed it so much. And it was just because they're walking those halls every day, and you find a different piece to look at, and it changes your mind, it changes your day.
Right, so everybody needs to go and fill their places with art.
I love it.
And real, authentic, handmade things by local artists. It can even be poetry, I mean, the books that we have around us.
Right, art isn't just a picture or a painting. It can be all sorts of music and...
I can't remember who it was that said it, but there was a psychologist who once wrote that the experience of art is the participation in the infinite, that there is an element of human defiance of death in the making of something.
Oh, wow.
And so when you see something that's authentically made, it could be good, it could be bad, but it's vital to you.
Right.
And if we're trying to build our lives with as many of those authentic relationships as possible, make the best use of our time. And so art is an intrinsic way of doing that. It's not just a luxury, or decoration. Like
it's for everyone.
And the thing that you wake up and see first thing in the morning has a tremendous impact on setting the tone for you during the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
So it could be a family photograph, or maybe a drawing your kid did on the refrigerator, but those things are catalysts.
We have a few of those framed in our office.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. So what role do you find that, do politics play a role in your projects ever? And do you pick and choose projects based on things that you're passionate about? Or have you denied things because of a political overtone?
That's interesting. I don't think we've ever declined something because it went against, there are a lot of wonderful people doing a lot of wonderful things in Akron.
Absolutely.
It always feels really good when we can help them bring their vision to life. Summit County Public Health hired us to do murals at their first full-term first birthday.
Right.
Was just a couple months ago, and
Right.
so Mac got to go and paint these murals with full-term first birthday with these beautiful images of motherhood on it. Aww. With expectant mothers in Summit County who need a little bit of extra help. And those murals are going to go up somewhere in the Summit County Public Health building and be a reminder to them about the good work that they're doing. So I think it can play a role. I tend to find that the people who want more art are the ones who are coming at it with a caring and a compassionate perspective. So
Right.
we have not had to be like, no, thank you.
Right, right. You
Yeah.
haven't run across it, but
Yeah.
but there are politics can play a role.
With everything, yeah.
I will say it is funny when you see. I mean, since moving here and starting our company, our artwork is in the background of almost every political campaign.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Interesting.
and we didn't get contacted about it. It's fine, but it's
It's
because.
public.
Sure,
Yeah. It's
public
allowed,
art.
yeah.
But people want to associate themselves with it because the way we do it is highly inclusive. It's very equitable. It's iconic, and
Right.
it celebrates that vibrance of community. I will say, you know, most of the time when we have to say no to something, it's only because the people who are asking don't really know what they're doing yet.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
They don't know the
Right.
budget or the cost or the scale of work that's required.
Sure.
So very often we're actually just telling them, you know, like $1,000 for a 3,000 square foot mural is not going to be enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Come back, you know,
Or
another time.
here are some of the questions that we would need answered. How big is it? How's it
Exactly.
maintained? How long do you want it to last? Is it inside or outside?
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to see it? And people just need a little bit of help
Mm-hmm.
working
Absolutely.
through those things. And we're happy to always help our clients work
Are you
through
both
that.
artists?
She would say, so I say this everywhere, she would say no, she's
I
not.
would say no.
Right.
But at the same time, the reason why our kids are so enthusiastic about singing and dancing is because she's very musically inclined.
Okay.
I do love music.
Yes,
Okay.
and the theater.
Yes. Yeah, we have season tickets to Playhouse Square.
Oh,
and
awesome.
We just finished the season yesterday, so we got to go see a little matinee. Makes my heart
Yeah,
happy.
so you have a different part of the arts culture
Yeah,
that
it-
you're
that
in,
works
and
in
you're
my
in the
brain.
actual physical art, like drawing
Yes.
and painting and things like that. So I find it interesting that you were just out doing an art project with first year.
Full-term
expectant-
first birthday.
Yes,
Yes.
full-term first birthday.
Yes.
Working with expectant and new moms, or,
Yeah.
right? I assume. Being a male, I mean, was that how was that received?
Well, so no one actually brought that up. I mean, there were plenty of men there because there were a lot
Okay.
of couples, you know, who were
Yeah.
around. And there were also a lot of families and grandparents. Maybe part of it is because I am not from here. So when I enter into an environment, I am always very aware that I'm an outsider, and I always defer to the perspectives and the lived experiences of the people that are around.
Okay.
At the same time, I also like to ask questions, and those questions sometimes reveal ways of thinking which we sometimes can build on and expand on.
Sure.
So we had a mural that's over on East Market Street, 4 large portraits that face the Mason CLC Public School. And the community members who wanted that public art wanted images of strong black leaders in their community.
Okay.
And so when we asked who they wanted, they volunteered like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Maya Angelou. But I would ask, is there a specific reason why those individuals is their story or life accomplishments particularly relevant to you? And they said, no, that's just who I thought I should
Sure.
mention. So it's like, do you know who your historic local black leaders are? And they didn't. And you know, I'm not from here. I didn't necessarily know either.
Right.
So we did a lot of research and asked around, and we found like 36 candidates that would have been an awesome fit. So we picked 4, and the community members then painted those portraits.
Wow.
And then we hired local artists to finish them. And now they're displayed over there on East Exchange Street. But that's normally the type of thing where when we were working in branding and packaging design, that methodology of asking questions is really important towards building trust and having long-term success in what
Sure.
you do. Because you have to ask that question, you know, 10 years from now, is this still going to be relevant?
And ask the question of more than one person, because if he had stopped,
Right.
we would have had beautiful portraits
Right.
of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. and
Sure.
Maya Angelou, but they wouldn't mean as much as the pastor that
Oh,
these people
absolutely.
have grown up with.
For sure. So I want to remind our viewers and those who may have joined late that we are here with Allyse and Mac Love from Art by Love. We are learning all about the creative ways they bring art into communities and work as a conduit to preserving history, inspiring collaboration, and bringing people together to do good. What I find interesting, because you kind of make yourself vulnerable by asking these questions and
He's
opening
really
up.
good at that.
Right. So whereas you're not a woman, but you're dealing with expectant and new moms, and you're not Black, but you're working with Black history and coming up with people can relate to you nonetheless because you've opened up about yourself and asked probing questions and finding out what's important to them. So that's, I mean, wow.
Well, there's that expression, like my dad always likes to say, be humbler than the dust. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of our community art, it's not about me or even about us.
We
Right.
don't sign those community murals aren't signed by us.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's a true expression of community. And so very much our process is, when we do those works, is about really just facilitating it.
Right.
And staying out
Finding
of
the
the
right
way.
artist for that client, or finding the right artist that can help with these students that are doing this project, and
Sure.
making everyone be cohesive and make that long-lasting end product as good as it possibly can be.
And we just did a mural in Cleveland Public Library at the Rice
Sure.
branch. And when you invite community to create, you don't police it, you end up with authentic communications that would never be there otherwise. That mural was not intended to have affirmations written all over it, but a lot of the kids in the community, when asked what they wanted to see in it, would say, you know, my grandmother would want this, or my Nana would want that. She tells me this every day. And so I took notes of all of those things that they were saying.
Right.
And in some cases, I had to paint over some of the original marks, but I made sure that those marks were returned in the final. And so all of these expressions are now layered into it.
Wow.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It is powerful. So I was going to ask you about that public library project. So it's up now?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Just finished it this weekend. But it's
Wonderful.
part of a 3-year continuous research and collaborative project with John Carroll University.
Oh, wow.
They actually helped fund and facilitate the entire thing. And we've been working with residents in the community now for 3 years, walking every single street, studying the built environment, and figuring out ways that we can work with others to achieve a sustainable impact.
That's incredible.
Yeah, this mural is just one aspect of it.
Yep.
Wow. Tell me about the Akron the Akron Zoo. You did a really cool mural there. I saw a picture of it. I haven't
Yes.
been there to see it, so I really want to get out there and see it. But tell me about that project.
That project was such a fun. It's my new favorite mural we've
Oh,
done.
good.
The Freedom Trail was the front runner. I think the Dragonfly has surpassed it. Every year when we start our yearly planning for our business, we make a list of dream clients. The Akron Zoo was one of my dream clients. I feel so much passion about the work that they do for conservation, for education. I could stand up on my soapbox and talk about it for an hour.
And it's run by Doug.
We love
Piercroft,
Doug, yes.
Who's amazing.
Yes, and the whole team there has been really fantastic. So we worked them. That project took a whole year.
Okay.
So we went and met with them, talked about what they wanted, and that's when we go and Mac starts concepts. So we create concepts for them, we refine them, we refine them, we refine them.
Sure.
We're meeting with their executives, and then we wait for the weather to break.
And get busy.
We got a final concept, I think, in November, and we were like, well, see you in April.
So did you do the art for that, or did you hire someone to come in and do the art for that?
So I did the entire thing myself. I mean,
Wow.
it would have been great to have help, but that was the type of mural using a high-grade epoxy. It's very sticky, and you only have 4 hours to work with it. So if I had my back to somebody and I didn't know what they were painting, I could have potentially ruined the thing. 'Cause
Sure.
It's a 360-degree mural, so
my gosh.
I'm literally standing in
In
it.
a bowl.
In the
Yeah.
base, yes.
And so it had to. I mean, I suppose I could have worked with somebody else, but for the time and trust and confidence,
Right.
thought it best to be me, and I was able to work it into a almost color by numbers approach.
Okay.
So I knew exactly how to use my time in there. And you were
So there's some physics, there's some mathematics, there's some
a lot of
everything
athletics.
into art.
Yeah,
Athletics,
that's
and you
big
got to
on
have
sports and art,
endurance,
yeah.
you know.
And the research, because this mural is going to be doused in water for
Yes.
8 months out of every year. How do we make it so that it still looks great next year and the year after and
Right.
the year after, and it doesn't, you turn the water off and you're like, oh, well, I guess it was nice for this year.
Right.
So that was a lot of working with our local paint reps and
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned one of our taglines, like make art work.
Right.
There's a lot of thought that goes into it.
Right.
A lot of art projects are just, expeditiously, let's do something creative. We very much want this to be something iconic that will last. So even things like the mosaic pattern that's in that,
Yeah.
a lot of people do think it's actually a real mosaic. It's just painted to look like one.
Oh.
But one of the reasons it's painted that way is also because no matter what, there will be some algae and other things that will
Sure.
accumulate on the sides of this. Breaking up those lines and shapes is going to make those things a lot less visible than it used to be on just a plain gray surface.
Absolutely.
And the material we use, you can power wash it. So it's actually, that's probably the strongest that those walls in that fountain have ever been. Yeah. So it's that kind of thinking. And once you've answered those questions,
Yeah.
you can move forward with tremendous confidence. And so it was a thrill. I mean, I really enjoyed painting that. It was hard, but it was the
hard.
best workout I've ever had doing art.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So another project, and I don't know if you would call it art, but you probably would, but less refined, I probably wouldn't. I don't know. But can you tell me about the Steps to Equity? That it's a project in Shaker Heights, and I
Yes.
really don't understand it. So can you explain that to me a little bit?
That is the project that ended up at the Rice Branch mural.
Oh,
So
got it.
Steps to
That's where
Equity,
you
yes.
went through the neighborhoods
Correct.
and did.
So we do GIS mapping, which is an application you can use to geotag that he would go around with residents and with John Carroll students who want to know more about the neighborhood that surrounds John Carroll University.
Sure.
So they would map what the sidewalk looked like. Is it good, bad, broken, up, rooted? What does the lighting feel like? What's the public art look like here? And they did every street with residents and with
Wow.
students. And then we're able to create the Steps to Equity story map that says, here's what we learned. And then we can go with John Carroll's entrepreneurship department and say, how do we want to make a difference? How do these students want to make a difference in their neighborhood? So the Rice Branch Library is one of the ideas that
Sure.
came through it. The activity book that we created that got resident and student feedback for what they want in their neighborhood, that's what
That was phase 2.
that was phase 2, yeah.
Wow.
So it was the mapping was phase 1. Here's all the things, good, bad, and ugly. Let's create an activity book where we can solicit feedback from the neighborhood and
Sure.
make an impact with what they want, not just what we think they need. And then let's execute on a couple of those ideas. And one of them is the mural in the Rice Branch Library.
That's really cool.
And Steps to Equity was kind of our way to kind of template and put together our approach towards community collaborative work. We typically, I go down every single street in the areas where I'm doing art.
Wow.
I talk to people on their front porch. We do attend ward meetings, community meetings, but a lot of people can't always attend that.
Right.
So having these conversations, it allows people to know what's coming. It also allows us to know what are the current, past, and experiences that people have had. And that method makes a lot of things transparent. So it helps both the city and communities
Sure.
address other needs. Because we make murals and other things, but it's not our job necessarily to repair retaining walls or to fix
Absolutely.
sewer drains. But the problem is a lot of those needs don't always get elevated to the people who can do those things. So our approach allowed the city of Cleveland to send out teams to immediately do landscaping to make sidewalks more accessible, to rebuild retaining walls, local neighborhood organizations that were doing litter cleanups. I think they did 6 times more litter cleanups the year after we did this because
They knew where the litter was.
we could
Yeah,
tell them
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
where
Here's
it's
a map.
getting caught, on the
Yes.
fences. And
Yeah, so there's a roadmap now
Correct.
for
So you're not
government
just
and
blindly walking around like, well, I don't know what needs.
so the
cleaned
government
up.
knows what needs done, the city, the university knows what needs done, the residents know what they can do to help. So you have this whole plan for this area
And when
based
we-
on all this research.
And when we do work like that, we never want to gatekeep. We did a lot of work in Akron. We did the University Park neighborhood
Sure.
a few years ago, and then we just gave it to everyone. Here's the research. We don't want to keep it.
Right.
We want everyone to have it. It's not going to be.
That's how you
as
make
usable
art
in a few
work.
years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
You're making it
exactly.
work so everybody can use it
Yeah.
and work with it, and it's not a proprietorship.
Yeah.
It's for everyone.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
we don't want to duplicate efforts.
Right.
If someone else has done the work, like, let's be efficient about that. So a lot of that, initial research is just about that, optimizing our approach so that we can focus the investment on the way it can bring these things together and like matter most. That University Park project, I think it was Neighborhood Network, was doing a porch light program like a year after we did this. And so we did a daytime and nighttime walkability assessment of the University Park neighborhood and could tell them exactly which areas of the neighborhood were darkest and felt less safe. And a lot of human behavior things are revealed when you do these types of approaches. Like, it's amazing how much sound impacts the way you feel safe when you're actually outside walking.
Especially when it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow.
And so a lot of those porch lights went to corridors of the neighborhood where people might not have known if we hadn't been proactively going down every single street. Same thing.
Unbelievable story.
Yeah,
Really.
that's great.
You guys do great stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Art by Love was founded by the husband and wife duo of Allyse and Mac Love. They are creating a buzz in Northeast Ohio for their collaborative and grand art projects that are designed to bring people together and make art work. And now I know what that means. Thank you, Allyse and Mac, for making our part of the world a better place. I'm Stephanie York. Thank you for joining us for a global outlook with a local view.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.